Hello guys, welcome to the fourth episode of Math Time. This time we're going to be talking about finding angles using trig ratios, since we already talked about trig ratios in the last episode. If you remember, the ones we used in the last episode, let me get a new canvas here. The ones we used in the last episode were sine, cosine, and tangent. And those are all helpful when I'm trying to find the length of a side. So if I wanted to find the length of the hypotenuse, if I had an angle here and I already had something here. But what if the question is not what is the side length, but instead what is the angle length? Now, whenever you are referring to a variable for an angle, you're usually going to see this. It's a Greek character. It's theta. That's what you're going to usually use for a variable of an angle. So if I wanted to find theta, and I had, this is where it is. It's going to be right there. And this is not a scale at all. That's not to scale at all. So let's say that the size of this, the length of this side is 6. And let's go ahead and say that this is 5. What's the most useful one I can use to find what the angle is? Well, I don't know, because I haven't shown you yet. To solve this, you're going to need to use the arc versions of these ratios. And if you look on a calculator, it's usually going to be referred to as, if I have sine, and here's a common misconception that you have to get rid of your head. Usually on a calculator, arc anything, like arc sine, will be represented as sine -1. But this is not true, because this is something completely different that we'll talk about in another episode. So your calculator is saying this, but it means this, because in actuality this is something completely different that we'll talk about in a later episode. So I can't use arc sine here though, because I have an adjacent side and an opposite side. So what's the one that I should use? It's arc tangent. How do I write it? Well, whenever you do this, it's really simple. Most of it is just a calculator. So you don't even really need to do anything. You just say arc tan and then what the ratio is. So here it's tangent is going to be opposite over adjacent. And I have my opposite is 6 and my adjacent as 5. So that's all you have to do. And if we do that on a calculator, I have my one right here. I'm just going to do arc tangent 6 over 5. And it goes out to be roughly 50, and I'm rounding to the nearest tenth, 50.2 degrees. That's about how much theta here is. 50.2 degrees. It's approximately 50.2 degrees. Yeah. So that is how to use the arc. Once again, if it said tan -1 on a calculator, it means arc tan, but the reciprocal of tangent is this. It is, if in a calculator this is this, but in real life this is not this. And I hope that gets rid of any. I'll explain it in another episode when we actually get into the reciprocal functions. But that wraps up today's episode. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day.